So every time when you do Zoom or you do any video call, you're scared about the kids will come around, you're scared about the cats will come around. Bring it to some of the schools.
We will subscribe. Are you guys ready? Okay. Yeah. Hello from Hong Kong. We are at Cyberport, the incubation platform in Hong Kong for grooming innovation and technology startups. Today, we have 3 startups with us on a panel sharing with us the topic of innovation in a new normal. Joining me on the panel today is Mark from Robon Technology, a robotics company. And then is Viola from Find Solutions AI, an education technology company. And Gary, from Bowtie, the first virtual insurer in Hong Kong. So again, without further ado, maybe I'll let you introduce yourself first. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with Gary, the other way around. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks. Really happy to be here. So I'm Gary. I'm the head of growth at Bowtie. I'm also one of the early founding members of Bowtie. Bowtie is Hong Kong's first virtual insurance company. We focus on selling health insurance to the Hong Kong community for the time being. There are some interesting facts with that with virtual insurance, we do not have any physical agents. And second of all, we only sell health insurance products that is pure protection based. So we don't have any investment components for our products. And third of all is that we're local born and bred, so most of our members are from Hong Kong.
So hi everyone, I'm Viola. So I'm the CEO and founder of Find Solution AI. So literally we're doing something more fun than insurance a little bit. Don't get angry. So what we do is we're using AI, especially using the motivation model, which have the learning behavior analysis, and meanwhile can see people emotion and reaction. But we're not only using for detection base, but we see people respond, but real-time respond to it. So we roll out in Hong Kong for over 100 schools in Hong Kong for pilot, and then we are going global, especially going to Japan and other APAC areas as well.
Insurance can be fun too. Let's hear about what Mark has to say.
Yeah. I would say you guys are not fun because I'm working on robots. We integrate robots not only for the robotics, we integrate IoT, 5G, clouds, and AI into solutions that will kill the pain points during every college's collapse or something. So the COVID-19 could be one of them because you know that there are lots of new normals happening every day and the situation is getting bad. And so just as a result, as a tech developer, we would say tech developer, not only a robot developer.
All 3 panelists are startups from our Braving the Epidemic campaign. The campaign is an initiative come up by our Cyberport community to provide solutions under the new normal to brave the epidemic. Well, honestly, to me, this definitely COVID-19 pandemic has a lot of challenging things. Yeah. So what has that sort of impact your business, your fundraising, your day-to-day operation?
In startup community, to be honest, especially if you have a pandemic like this, to be honest, fundraising is a lot more difficult because most of the investors, they want to be more conservative. They also want to know what's happening later on. But for our industry, education is a bit, I would say, have a mixed blessing. The reason why is if your company literally go out for digital transformation slightly earlier, then you get the advantages. So we are the one that we're working on online education, especially focusing on MOOC and remote learning, that kind of thing. So to be honest, when the school, they say, we don't open school anymore, and it was like, ta-da, it's the time. I'm sorry to say that, but the point is we help a lot of schools, especially when they're in difficulties.
Yes.
Major reason why is you need to understand a teacher, they need to grow so many students, but if it is only using a video conferencing tool, it's really difficult because the human touch.
And boring.
And yeah, that's really boring as well. And you need to understand, there's a lot of teachers, they teach in that area for more than decades. You know what, I saw one of my son, the Zoom. So the teacher didn't do any screen sharing, just talk for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Wow, I was like, wow,
so
you nailed
it's
it.
just like a robot, you know, this is the time when you come in.
So in order to prevent from human touch, you say it is hard for education to avoid human touch, but however, for me, I would like to prevent people from human touch. So that's why. But we're talking about difficulties. So
talking about advantages. Okay?
This is advantages. This is not difficulties. The difficulties is we have our scope of development, the robust development plan in 2020, that we are focusing on property management and education. From March, that we have well prepared and our teams were all ready, and all of a sudden everything's changed after the COVID-19. And the thing is, we could not keep going on our old scope of our development. That is the problem. So that's why we prepare a series of items, robots and solutions like anti-epidemic and like UV disinfection robots, something like that. I start my design of my epidemic prevention robots, which we call the body temperature control robot, PEP3000. And after 15 days, we have already got my proof of concept, the prototype. We're ready. And Cyberport helped us to communicate with EMSD, electrical and mechanical service department, and
the government.
The government. So the commissioner is adopted with the help of 50 engineers.
Right.
So they adopted and try to deploy it into different government departments, like fire service department, corrective service department, like transport department, and EMSD themselves.
This is really, for the body temperature sensing to make sure that people do not have the symptom and so on.
Yes, because we are different from the standalone robot, standalone version. So the robot can go around and make a surveillance.
That's right. So what you're saying is that with the epidemic, you have this opportunity actually to have a very specific use for body temperature sensing, and then with that, you have basically got into the market of various different areas, including government organization and some of the other elderly homes and so on. And with that, you can extend further usages. So this really demonstrates the agility of a startup, right? And I understand Bowtie, you're the first who launched the COVID-19 insurance package, right? So you should talk about that.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So I think COVID is a really unfortunate event for the world, for Hong Kong, for everyone, and for a lot of small business as well. But I guess with Bowtie, it's very interesting that we geared towards focusing on health insurance, and we tried to be really healthcare focused and centric, so that when this happens, when COVID started happening, we start realizing that there's a lot of health aspects that we should chime in. So there are a few aspects. One is the awareness part and the literacy. So we really want to help people to better understand, what's going on, and if you have troubles or problems, where should you go, etc. And the other part is that, back to the point where we were then immediately seeking out and think of, hey, for our health insurance product, how can we suit to different people in the community that is good. And third of all, we actually also partner with various Cyberport incubatees to really try to distribute the products to maybe more of the blue-collar working class, like drivers, etc. So by creating certain products that fit them, so we really try to spread our wings to really help people in need during this difficult time. A lot of the consumer behaviors have changed. Definitely, I think in Hong Kong we're seeing a lot of changes happening. Is that not only are the layman general consumers, they're more open to online activities these days. There's more e-commerce coming up. Even buying online insurance. Definitely the numbers have spiked for us over these past probably 10 months. And at the same time, I think a lot of the very traditional businesses, even yesterday I was looking at some seafood restaurant, and they probably have a stall just in one of the old wet market area. He also has an Instagram store. And and he opens up for people to online order and even do deliveries through one of these delivery apps. And this whole thing has changed a lot, not just for
this
consumers.
is really the new normal now.
Yes, it's a new normal, and I think this will change. This is going to be, suddenly this accelerates Hong Kong's in terms of the adoption of new technology and online activities. Like I think it speeds up probably 3 to 5 years, like easily. So I think this also changes a lot.
That's right. That's very true. I think some of the things that we thought in the pre sort of COVID-19 situation are nice to have, now is basically a necessity.
Yeah.
So you can't do away without that. I believe, like for example, learning from home for the schools. In the past, online, learning may be a nice to have thing, but then now is a must. Yeah.
It's a must. So everybody has to, not even for kids, even for adults. So let's say if you go for compliance training, all that stuff in the past that you have to have physical meetings and things, right?
That's right.
So now they all changed it to online. So literally we're also working on a project that is also for compliance training, but we're going to see people's response and behavior when they're learning. No privacy issue because we don't record any videos.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing. Now with online meetings so sort of well accepted, people often just log into the meeting and then they stop the video and they do something else. So with your solution, probably you can provide the analytics of such behavior and alert people that okay.
But in my point of view, I think in another way around.
Okay. Yes.
So you join a meeting or you join a learning. The most major reason is you want to learn something from it, right?
Right.
But the point is you cannot control whatever the teacher is saying, some good stuff or some important or unimportant stuff, right?
Yes.
So I was like, if there is something that you can fast forward.
All
the way, you only find a highlight, you find the keywords, you find a point, and then you can cut down the learning time from 3 hours all the way into 1 hour. Thank God, I want something like that.
I wish I had that too.
So literally we're working something like that at the moment, which also it means that have higher learning efficiency and don't demotivate a person when the person wants to learn.
True.
So that is the reason why I want to work in that way. And meanwhile, for the host, so let's say if you teach something to people, you also want to know how they feel. So Peter, your idea is really good. We'll definitely will take into it because you want to know how they feel. That is the most important thing.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark? With your robotics, technology, can you also do something fancy?
Yeah, I'm doing something fancy. Yes, I've sent you my latest video regarding my latest 5G coach robot.
Oh, yeah, 5G, really,
robots. So, because there are two new normal, we call that after COVID-19 a new normal, but there is also an evolution, 5G evolution.
That's right.
Happening April 2020. So, with 5G, we have low latency and very large bandwidth. You can do everything. You can have excellent live streaming. You have excellent conferencing. You have excellent imaging wherever you like. You have
whatever
different
falls
data.
on your face, you can see it, right?
Yeah, exactly. There will be something like 5G diagnosis, 5G medical consultancy services. Something will pop up. I believe that after the new normal, because people release and their mind will be changed. Yeah. So before that, maybe there will be some hesitation in the online education or online course. Yeah, always, of course. But I'm going to share something that my son is going to have a Zoom football lesson. And my wife is going to participate.
That's hard.
So I think that's people already changed their mind.
Yeah.
So that's my
how are they going to do that? Virtually.
To pay some scopes, and then try to pretend to have some tackling, something like that.
Lately, the learning is the parents is learning, not the kids is learning.
Gary, you mentioned just now about the e-commerce adoption and the penetration and so on. I recall a McKinsey report saying that in the first 3 months in the U.S., this is in the U.S., in the first 3 months, the U.S. E-commerce penetration actually exceeded the past 10 years of e-commerce penetration. So this is really something that is very impactful, something that for our innovation and technology communities, positive that came out from COVID-19. And for virtual insurance, is there any other new things that you believe because of this that would generate even, much more opportunities?
Yeah, that is very interesting. I think traditionally, like insurance is a very interesting aspect where if you've purchased it, you actually don't want to use it, kind of, because like if you use it means that you're probably in sick or something.
Yeah.
But actually, in another sense, that you're probably getting something back from the premium that you have paid to an insurer. So that's very interesting. So this one is more like a cure-based kind of protection. But when we were thinking of before, instead of curing people and then getting paid out,
yeah.
how about preventive?
Mm-hmm.
Because now that we're thinking more preventive of, let's say, is it possible that, as an insurance company, that we encourage a person to stay healthy? So when the person stays healthy, it's actually good for that person. Actually, the person actually pays less cost, and actually good for insurance company too. So overall, it's a win-win-win scenario. So being preventive instead of after the fact of having cure, that one is a huge mind shift. And I think across the whole world, this is a trend, and it will eventually come to Hong Kong as well.
So in my point of view, in a coming new trend after COVID, I would say the new normal, I would say in 3 different directions. For education-wise, it has to be stronger personal touch, but in terms of online. So it means the human interaction enabled, but you were doing online. That is a really crucial thing, because in the past, most of the online education is really maximum can do one-on-one, or exam practice on paper, or on online education is just multiple choice, that kind of thing. So the interaction is not there. So I guess the AI-powered solution, for example, the behavior, learning behavior, and engagement, motivation that should be added in. That's the first thing. Second thing is the way of learning. Because in the past, there is always one way in. So it's like the teacher coaches you, so you go for the exam. In Asia, mostly like this. In US, 90% is like that as well, because the exam, it affects everything, right? But now I think it's time for everybody to really ring a bell to think of how you're going to learn and how you're going to teach in a hybrid way. Because physical learning, I guess in coming 1 or 2 years, still be heavily affected. But these 2-year gap, so what would they do at home? Even though if you have online learning and whatever it is. So the hybrid learning, that kind of mode, they still need to keep it in, which means can help the ones who is really in need. So a lot of ed tech that it can be put in place. The last thing is, I do believe personalized learning is really important for everyone. And schools and everybody should really put into a lot of effort in order to make it work as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So Viola has sort of in her area of expertise, the education technology, made some predictions. Yeah. So basically, more human touch, with the technology. Yeah. And you, Mark, what do you think about, any predictions, in your area?
Predictions and people avoid touching. So that's my prediction, because yeah, that's true. People avoid touching. So we have developed a new device called Low Touch with HKPC. So for the elevators that lift, they do not need to touch panel.
Right.
So simply use RO sensor to indicate the location, and with the relay installed inside the lift. So this is something like this new normal. And also when you go to fast food shop, you simply touch the panel, the smart kiosk or not, you don't like it. You like to be, you like to talk to the shop manager to say, I would like to have the burger, something like that. You don't want to touch it, isn't it? So that's the problem, that people don't like to touch anything. There are lots of, technology. It could be digital transformation from the old way to the new way. So avoid touching could be a giant market that I can foresee.
Right. Well, it's very interesting. If there is one thing that you can say to sum up the impact, on you and your business with the COVID-19 situation, which probably is going to create this new normal and going to stay for a while, what's that one thing then? Yeah.
So for me, it's like a new drive, because every time you believe you always have a plan to do something, but something happens, it's like, oh, we need to think of something new. So it's a new drive in order to say, go for it, hey, that kind of thing. So literally it changed every idea that I have, and also speed up a lot of things, because education normally is a bit slower than other industry because it takes several semester things in order to happen, right? But now it's like, after they talk to you, make a call, hey, I'm going to adopt the solution tomorrow, something like that. So one more thing I would say is the digital transformation. For every industry, they need to take into account for no matter it's just your own operation or other operation. If you adopt it, as long as when there's anything it comes to, it will still have a chance in order to grow and shine.
Right. This is a wake-up call for accelerating digital transformation.
Yeah, that's really true.
So, do you think after the COVID-19, you still use your conferencing software for education?
Yeah, quite very likely because the most important new normal is they change your habit on doing things. So now, to be honest, if you have a meeting, I would prefer Zoom. I would prefer video conferencing because I don't need to travel. I don't need to go out. Literally, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I will try to cut down a lot of unnecessary meeting because, you know what, you need to do video conferencing for hours is really difficult. So it's more efficient, which means that you're also stuck at home longer time.
You're right, yeah.
And the virtual presence will be that, like a lot of, as you mentioned, like Zoom, conferences, or even like events, offline events gone online these days. But I think not only that, adding to all these is that a lot more companies or startups will start thinking, how do I add a more personal touch and human touch over the screen? How is that personal touch being added on?
Right.
People hate touching, so I think new
The virtual touch is
Virtual touch.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Good idea.
Good. Yeah. So we're going to have more virtual touch. Yeah.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys need to travel a lot, but honestly, before the COVID-19, I need to travel a lot to China because most of our suppliers in China, and I got a team in the Greater Bay Area. So working on R&D, something like mechanical parts. So we have suppliers like motors, like different relays and components, maybe.
Grounded in Hong Kong.
Grounded. You cannot do it anywhere. So we are forced to work on some new, solutions during our meetings, our suppliers interview. I mean suppliers interview. So when you are not able to go to your supplier's factory, what can you do? Is this really need to know if that perks or if those suppliers is sufficient to provide you services?
Right.
This is really, really hard. So maybe this is also a very big market that we'll be facing. But we're trying to go for it by using different online conferencing software.
On the first point you make, I'm just, while you are saying, imagining a possible solution of, having a robot on the ground, doing everything, and then you wear a virtual, reality glass, or augmented reality, glass that you can actually see what the robot sees, and then, control it, and so on to basically let the robot be there physically to do the work for you.
Exactly.
That kind of application will probably become, quite widespread and so on.
Yeah, so that's why I built a 5G coach robot.
Yeah, right. You are all startups groomed in Hong Kong. Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason for why you want to stay in Hong Kong to really start your business. And can you share some of those with us? Why? Yeah, Hong Kong. What's unique about Hong Kong that really help you to fly, to take off? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I can share a lot because I spent my times in Canada and the U.S. For a lot of places for many years. And I mean, being raised in Hong Kong, I always know that Hong Kong has a very good, solid legal system, regulatory system, and but I mean, these are all great softwares or like supplementary. But I think the most important is really the Hong Kong people. Mm-hmm. I think that we always have a saying that we've worked with a lot of smart people in different areas. But when we come back to Hong Kong, we know that the people here are not only on the work ethic, but at the same time, the intelligence and also the business acumen is very strong here.
Yeah, I want to echo that because I believe that inside a small city like Hong Kong, there are lots of great universities. So we have a sufficient or maybe very sufficient numbers of HR pool. So to support every industry, like engineering, like computer science, like finance, like marketing, whatever. But the only problem with Hong Kong is the market is not big. Mm-hmm. However, we have the Greater Bay Area right now, So the market is getting huge. So I believe that this is the great bay area could compensate the insufficiency of the market size of Hong Kong.
Right, right.
So for me, I would say Hong Kong is a very special city in the world. First of all, there is 3 reasons why I still stay here. I'm married to a Dutch. I personally burned over $0.5 million in my own company for R&D. So you tell me. Huh? So for Hong Kong people, the most important thing is really, the city is really dynamic, it's fast. So to be honest, I have lived in EU for a long time, but the point is if you want to ask somebody to work for you for something, they're good. But Hong Kong is super fast. So it's super dynamic, so you can adopt something new in Hong Kong very quick. Second thing is the city is really well developed, especially in law, let's say if you want to have a startup, so there's a lot of community like Cyberport and a lot of support from different government authorities and things. So it means that you can start something up very quick. And the third thing is the network. So in Hong Kong, because it's so linked to so many areas, so like APAC, China, EU, or even in US. So whenever if you have something new, you put it in Hong Kong as a proof of concept. And Hong Kong is also a very difficult place to get it well. Yeah. So if you can really prove it in Hong Kong that you nailed it, it means that you're going to succeed in other areas as well. So that is the reason why we start in Hong Kong. It's not easy, but time is right now.
Yeah. Now, as a sort of a final concluding question, really, $1 million question here is that, now you have shared with us, how you have adapted, how you have really, understand the advantages or take advantages of the Hong Kong situation and thrive. What do you think, under this new normal, is your outlook of, say, the future? Yeah, how would that be? Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is like a crystal ball question. That is like there are so many interpretations for this. But if there's only one takeaway, I would really think that a lot more traditional business will go online. I think that is my final conclusion on this. And that would actually imply a lot of things. That would imply more consumers will be able to accept a new form of business transactions. That will mean that more businesses will get a new way of revenue mix and also product mixed. And also the human communication will change over time. And I think this will just be bright, and there's just a lot of opportunities going forward.
All right.
Yeah.
So for me, I will say something similar, but a little bit twist. I would say digital transformation, no matter for individual or companies or whoever it is. So the virtual presence of that thing. So literally, if your life will be completely changed after this pandemic situation, your habit and consuming habit, learning habit, even though wherever you work as well. So the faster you go for digital transformation, the more benefit that you gain from it.
Right, good.
So it depends on if you treat that as a pain point of the ecology, or that's definitely an evolution of the ecology. So what I'm saying, what we are discussing during the past hour, we're talking about how to avoid human touch, and with still, keep the standard of the living similar. So it is hard. So during evolution, we could have billions of ideas. So as a Hong Konger, I believe that we should keep ourselves creative. So maybe we could have ding, and could have a new idea tomorrow.
Right, right. Okay, so stay creative, and this is to you something that is very key, in the coming, your outlook of the future. Yes. Hong Kong will continue to be very creative and with great ideas coming up.
Thousands of solutions coming out.
Right, good.
During this
let's keep that in mind and continue to be creative and generate, great ideas. Yeah, it was really a great discussions that we have just now. Thank you so much, for joining the panel and sharing your experience, how you have adapted, how you have, braved the epidemic and all those. Yeah, really, especially, the last part about the outlook. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.